But for today, we need to get started. So, the very first episode, Coming In and Down, I talk about a process called body resourcing and resource spotting that we can do. It's a self brain spotting practice. I'm a brain spotting practitioner and I incorporate that with what I do. So, we're going to do this together. So, if it's right for you and your wise body and soul, and you are in a safe and secure location, not driving a car or not doing something that requires you to attend to it, I invite you to just sit down or lie down or stand and come into this body and this place. If your feet are on the floor, allow them to sense what's there. If you're sitting or lying down, really allow your body to sense the support of the chair, the floor, the bed, the sofa. And then on your next in breath, just start to notice your breath. Hmm. What happens when you notice it? Now, you're going to take a moment and you're going to turn inside and you're going to just sense where in your body feels the most grounded, the most secure, the most peaceful. And for me today, that is my back along the chair and the eye gaze that goes with it. I'm finding my eyes wanting to go there. You might have your eyes closed, and that's okay. But our eye gaze position goes with a spot in our body, goes with a felt sense in a meeting. And so when we can harness our eye gaze in a position that connects with our resource in our body, this is a way that we can be with ourselves, support ourselves, nourish ourselves. We're just going to do that together for a moment. All right. As it's right for you and your wise body, you want to just come back to this space and time and you can shift and move, shake it out. I have a beautiful friend who is a sound healer and a somatic voice teacher. Her name is Jen Rose. Look her up. And she goes, whoosh, whoosh. So if that's right for you, do that. And just come in and come back here. It's lovely to be with you all. So, invisible grief, gates of grief. Today, I'm going to be introducing you to something called the gates of grief. This is not my concept. This is a concept written about by Francis Weller in this amazing book, The Wild Edge of Sorrow. And if you're familiar with me and my work, you know I talk about the colors of grief. So I think of the gates of grief as helping us discover what trails in the wilderness of grief are there. And then the colors of grief are like what we see when we walk along the path. So, to get us started, I'm going to tell a little bit of a story that I think will then allow us to illuminate the gates of grief. So, I'm going to start and I'll go into the gates as we go. So, rewind the clock about 4 years. My parents had both died. My dad had been dead about 6 weeks, my mom about 5 months. And I had just learned that we needed to open estates for both my mom and my dad because of the proximity of their deaths. The things didn't had to be treated separately for some of the things. Anyway, so I had I had acute grief, bereavement. In my case, I also had some traumatic grief because I lost my mom so unexpectedly and cumulative, right? The back to back. Um, so there was all of that. And that goes with the first gate of grief. Everything we love, we lose. Gosh, doesn't it help you appreciate how loving is such a risk? But also, we can't live without love. So, in order to love, we grieve. And in order to grieve, we love. It's just part of the process. That said, all those D's, everything we love, we lose. The job, the physical health, the relationship, the people. So, anyway, back to the story. So, I was given a bazillion and one logins for all the stuff. So, I'm sitting at the dining room table. I was still part-time private practicing, running my running that, doing the estates, and bonus momming. So I'm sitting at the computer doing all of this, trying to log in, and the little passwordy box went bleep, bleep, and it just like kept doing it. And my activation shot through the roof. Through the roof. Now, I had enough of my adult self that I got myself to walk out of the door and I started to walk outside. And there is a local gas convenience place called Turkey Hill. I decided to walk there and treat myself to, ha 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 ha, a cup of coffee with some fun, non dairy creamer that I don't usually give myself. So I got there, go inside, I do the thing, I get up to the register, I had cash in my pocket, I pull it out, and I got cash back, but I thought that I'd given her a 20 and not a 5. So, needless to say, I was not 100% pleased with what I got back. Well, out of me came, I mean, I was a bitch, dude. I was cruel. I was mean. I accused her. I didn't feel like I was it was awful. Anyway, long story long, the manager came out, dealt with it. So not only had I actually given her the 5 and not the 20, I'd actually violated my own sense of who I was as a person. So I walked out and I felt so much shame. So much shame. And then I called a friend. I talked about all of this. She offered me some compassion. And then she said, "Megan, stop being so hard on yourself. You're so hard on yourself." And you know what I did then? Then I started to be even harder on myself for that. So it was like a triple decker shame sandwich or something like that. Then I got home and I started to take a breath. And over the course of settling the estate, something miraculous happened. And that is that I discovered that bitchy me, which Joe calls the guillotine, I'm not lying, and perfectionist people pleasing me, parentified oldest daughter me, people pleasing me, all of these me's came out to try to keep me safe. And you know what was lurking under there? The places in me that did not know love. And in fact, even these parts of myself, I've been fighting them. I've been trying to fix them. I've been trying to make them better rather than just accepting them for what they were and asking what they needed. So I say this story because that takes us to the second gate. The places in us and others that did not receive love. Ooh, right? There's the disenfranchised grief. There's the chronic grief and sorrow. There's the ambiguous loss. There's a secondary loss for the losses of ourselves. Another thing that is evident in my little story is the third gate, which is the sorrows of and for the world, right? I was alone. I sorrowed for the world, for what wasn't, for the woman at the cash register that who was a human, that I didn't have the capacity to human with. But here's the thing in 2026 USA, think about the griefs of our world that we've all had collectively this year, right? It's the sorrow for other humans, but it's also the sorrow for our earth, for our animals. It's eco grief. That may be invisible. It's hard to name. It's chronic. It's ongoing. It's ambiguous. It is absolutely disenfranchised. And we carry it collectively every day. This is the collective grief. It's the sorrow that's the humidity in the August air. You can't escape it. We breathe it in, we feel it. And then there's the fourth gate. What I expected to get that didn't. What you expected to get but didn't. I can tell you in the story that I told, well, the attorney had told me, we do this so that you can grieve. So I expected that I wasn't going to be having to spend as much time settling the estates. I expected that for somebody who'd been trained in as much grief and loss as I've been trained in and worked in for years, that I would have known this. Like I've actually supported people who had died and I had no idea. Um, but also, I don't know about you all, but I sure expected my life to look different than it looks today. Certainly, if you are a young person growing up, I want to honor and acknowledge that the world that you're maturating into does not look like what you likely were taught that it would. There's grief there, right? Back to those invisible griefs, the ambiguous, the chronic, the collective, the secondary, the ambiguous. And then there's the fifth gate, and that is ancestral. Weller says that in our bodies, we carry the grief of our ancestors. We talk about embodied ancestral trauma. Well, we also carry the grief, the cries that they weren't allowed to cry, maybe the places where they needed to just keep on keeping on. All of that lives in us and in our body. And in my story, a lot of that was coming out, right? My, grief volcano, because that's really what it was with the cashier. It was like a grief volcano. I needed places and spaces to metabolize my grief. So that brings us to, every time where we talk and you all say, that's great, Megan, but now what? Well, as a person who really invites people to consider that there are like three main spirals in grief. Survival, that's when we're like right in it, like I was that day at the store. It was like all swirling around. That's like just basic needs level. Then there's the listening spiral, and that's what this 9 episode series is about. Learning to come in and down and live with it. And then there's the third spiral, which is the living spiral, where you go, oh my gosh, these gates of grief, these colors of grief, they're around. There's no like checking them off the list and getting them through. I know, I know. There's more learning to be with, live with, ride the waves, perhaps even finding joy and meaning and purpose amid it. And it doesn't mean it's always easy, and it doesn't mean you won't be in survival swirls, because you will. It simply means it gives a frame to be here. So how do we learn to be with sorrow? How do we learn to walk through these 5 gates? Well, one of the first ways you can do this is by intentionally spending time, right? So over the next week, should you choose, the home play would be to spend 5 to 10 minutes a day with grief intentionally, right? There's the what I talked about last week, the put on the music, the be with it, the feel. Well, this is being with it and like journaling with it, like really asking it to talk to you, the parts of you, seeing if there's one of the gates that specifically needs your attention and your time. Like, what are the ones that I mentioned or the colors is resonant for you? And is there something there for you to explore, to learn more about? So, I'm going to end, as always, with a poem for you. And I do believe that when we allow ourselves to tend and befriend our grief, to allow it to work in and through us, as we evolve, it does something with us. And I do believe that this poem helps demonstrate the gifts that can come from that. This is the poem Kindness by poet Naomi Shaib Nye. Before you can know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all of this must go so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in the white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you seize the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to mail letters and purchase bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes everywhere with you like a shadow or a friend. So, friends, may you be well. May you know that kindness and compassion are these friends that we seek. I believe it because I've witnessed it with those I serve, and I have experienced it inside, that those gifts cultivate and grow in us as we tend and befriend sorrow. And I want you to know, I know we can't always do that alone. So next month, September 15th, put it on your calendar. I'm doing this live on Zoom with you. So not a video, not a whatever. It's just you if you want to sign up and me. It's my 50th birthday, y'all. So I'm going to start out with you and we're going to be playing death deck questions because, you know, let's talk about death, baby, right? Part of that is also learning to reckon with our own mortality, I believe, is part of how we live into these. And so I want to do that with you on my 50th birthday. So the sign up is in the links below, or you can reach out to me. Other ways, if you want to have a coffee with me and talk about what companionship and guidance through the invisible, this vocational doulaship that I do, if you're curious about it, reach out. And if you really want an embodied and immersive experience, I invite you to join me and my gratitude sister, Lisa Condon, for our first grief and gratitude retreat this February. So until next week, may your coffee be rich and dark. May your conversation with yourself and others be meaningful. And may you know that as you encounter the gates of grief and sorrow, that kindness can cultivate in you. Peace, blessings, and namaste.